William Brown, a frustrated musician who loves playing progressive rock, starts his day with a bunch of interesting encounters. First up, there's Emily, his girlfriend, who's also a lawyer and lives with him. Then he bumps into Eleanor Prescott, the manager of his apartment building, who always seems to have some handyman tasks for William. Next there's Alec, a screenwriter who's kind of a big deal because of his family connections, and he's in the middle of moving out. And finally, there's Philip, a neighbor everyone calls Pig Man because he has a pig for emotional support. As William drives to work, he tunes into some videos by his guitar hero named Swig Anderson, who used to play bass in a famous band called Dawn Dimension. Working as an audio engineer in a recording studio, William's boss reminds him about the importance of being punctual. As he settles into his work, he decides to play some tracks from his own album that he's been pouring his heart into. But unfortunately, his moment of pride is shattered when Caleb Bang Jansen, an egotistical recording artist, belittles William's music, claiming his own music can make people orgasm. William leaves the studio feeling disheartened. Outside the studio, he encounters a homeless man named Augie, who asks him for food. Sadly, William doesn't have any to spare, and when he apologizes, the homeless man curses at him in frustration. When William gets home, he sees a new neighbor moving in next door, and their loud music makes him really mad because it's messing up his work. Eleanor, the horny manager, doesn't care about the noises and refuses to do anything about it. William gets so angry that he punches the wall, making his new neighbor spits loogie on his door. William calls the police for help, and two cops named Pons and McCormick come, but they don't do anything because William's neighbor is chatting nicely with his wife. The neighbor named Vlad makes fun of William behind his wife's back by calling him pussy and saying he should have talked to him directly. The next day at work, Caleb plays a prank on William by drawing a dick picture on William's head. Then he unfairly convinced his colleague Scott to fire poor William from his job. Meanwhile, back at home, Emily had a serious talk with William. She urged him to focus on his life instead of spending all his time on his music hobby. William became so frustrated with the loud music that he impulsively decided to confront Vlad. He marches into Vlad's room and demands that he turn down the music. Surprisingly, Vlad applauds William for standing up for himself, but then he challenges William to a fight. Vlad forces William to throw punches and pushes him against the wall. William is feeling scared and tries to defend himself. Unexpectedly, Vlad slips and falls onto a pole, which tragically impales him and causes his head to come off when he tries to get back up. As the video plays, it gives him chilling instructions on how to dispose of a body. He follows the steps meticulously, buying the necessary supplies from the store before returning home to begin the gruesome task of cutting up the body with a saw. Midway through the grim work, his phone rings. It's Emily calling. Distracted by the call, he notices Vlad seemingly coming back to life and starting to talk to him. The shock of hearing Vlad's voice from the dismembered body makes his heart race. In a panic, he gathers all the pieces and rushes to a nearby smelting refinery, hoping to get rid of the evidence. Desperately, he tries to bribe the security guard with his unfinished music album, but his attempt fails miserably. As the guard reaches for the phone to call the police, he bolts from the scene, carrying Vlad's remains with him. With adrenaline coursing through his veins, he races to the recording studio, hoping to find safety amidst familiar surroundings. Outside the studio, Augie stumbles upon the chopped-up body of Vlad. William, in a frantic attempt to cover up his actions, tries to bribe Augie with drugs. But as William gets into the car, Vlad's reanimated foot suddenly causes him to lose control and accidentally run over Augie, killing him instantly. Feeling overwhelmed with guilt, William apologizes profusely to Augie, only to realize that Augie is actually his guitar hero, the Swig Anderson. With a heavy heart, William loads Augie's body into the van and drives to a remote location in the middle of nowhere to dispose of the bodies. When William gets home, he remembers he has to help Eleanor with the fuse box, but when he goes to check on her, he finds her electrocuted and looks like a crispy chicken. He calls the firefighters, and one of them mentions that Eleanor really liked prog music. Emily is also leaving, tired of dealing with William's problems. Then, he hears music coming from Vlad's room. When he goes in, he can't believe his eyes. Vlad and Augie are somehow back in the building. Feeling like he's losing his mind, William decides to just go with it and have fun with Vlad and Augie. He shares his thoughts on prog rock with them, telling them the reason why he loves prog. Then he takes them to his room and plays them his music, which he has been working on for 3 years. Philip comes over to complain about the noise, but things quickly escalate. He starts breaking William's stuff. They end up fighting over a record, which accidentally breaks and cuts Philip's neck, causing him to bleed profusely. In a panic, Philip tries to kill William, who defends himself by using nearby sharp objects. The struggle ends tragically with Philip losing his life. Emily walks in, witnessing the aftermath of the accidental death. She immediately runs off to call the police. The cops arrest William, who subsequently shares a jail cell with his previous neighbor named Alec. However, William is swiftly released as his public defender informs him that no bodies were found at the apartment building, despite Emily's claims. William goes to the morgue to identify Eleanor's charred corpse. She suddenly reanimates and motivates William to finally finish his prog rock album. Upon returning home with her, William collects the other 3 reanimated ghouls and takes them to the studio, where they find Scott and Caleb looking like grown babies with diapers and force them to help Williams record his album. A SWAT team arrives outside to get William to release the 2 hostages. William sends them Vlad's hand as a warning not to come in. Police Captain Antonell has Emily try negotiating with William through a bullhorn, but Emily ends up stalling for William after they reconcile over their broken relationship. While William races to finish recording, Vlad transforms into a monstrous beast after calling William a loser, taunting his inability to complete his music, and admitting he called the cops. More driven than ever, William channels his frustration into completing his album with newfound determination, and the power of his music proves overwhelming, causing Vlad to explode into pieces. As the chaos unfolds, the police swarm the building, apprehending William and taking him into custody. William goes to prison, but later wins an Album of the Year award that Scott and Caleb Bang Jansen accept on his behalf. Now serving as his lawyer, Emily visits William to ask how he managed to finish the album despite everything. Looking at a vision of the reanimated ghosts over her shoulder, William responds that he had help from friends. Emily leaves William with a device so he can continue making music in his cell. If you like this video, like, share, subscribe and press the bell icon for more videos. Also share your thoughts about the video in the comments.